Welcome to the most stressful Minecraft hardcore 100 days you will ever watch.
Shut up and sit down.
Yay, Minecraft time. What's the proper way to start a Minecraft world? Obviously, you do the normal first day chores like punch trees and get stone tools, but after that, the question I have is, what is an acceptable amount of travel you can do looking for a home before people think you're insane? For me personally, I could run forever because my standards are way too high. But since this is a time-sensitive video, I gave myself a distance limit of 4,000 blocks from the spawn, and here's a line graph illustrating how my standards slowly dropped over time until I eventually just settled somewhere. I found a village pretty close to this pillager outpost, so I picked a nice middle ground in between them, and I immediately got started digging my base. You guys ever gone down a YouTube rabbit hole at 2 a.m. and watched these types of videos? Regardless of how you feel about them, you can't deny that those videos and that lifestyle brings you a sort of serenity that most people are missing in their life, me included, so I'm going to try to recreate it in Minecraft, but instead of serenity, it'll probably just make me question my life choices. Someone do me a favor and come over here and slap me for thinking that I could dig a giant 32 by 32 hole with stone tools. Needless to say, I got tired of that pretty quick. For the first half of this 100 days, digging out this hole and having a nice place to live is a main focus. It's not the only focus, but it does take up a lot of the time. And for the next 8 or so days, when I wasn't building the hole, I was down in the caves, lighting them up and playing like a little bitch, to be honest. Maybe now would be a good time to tell you that I've never actually made it past roughly the enchanting armor part of a Minecraft hardcore world. And there's two main reasons for that. One is I don't like playing like a bitch. And number two is, yeah, I'm just bad. I mean, I still use the scroll wheel. But this time, since I was recording it for a video, I decided to play it a little bit safe, but I kept getting that itch. And if you play like me, you know what I'm talking about. It's the itch to go run around in a mineshaft with no armor. To take jumps that you probably shouldn't take. To fight that creeper when you know you shouldn't. And to burn yourself just so you can feel something. And maybe I did scratch it just a little bit, but that's alright. On day 8, I decided to waste my only 2 diamonds on some shovels because this was taking so long. And I wish I could say I did more than just dig a hole and mine for 11 days, but you guys know how it is. You gotta walk before you can run. One upside though is I did actually manage to find my first vein of diamonds instead of just finding them in like villages and minecart chests and stuff. And by the end of day 14, I had a mine shaft all the way down to, God, what is it now? Like negative 58, something like that. And the hole was looking like this. And a day later, it was looking like this. As far as holes go, it's a pretty nice one. Top tier, award-winning, some might say. But that's all it is, man. It's just a hole. I promise you guys, I make a surprising amount of progress by the end of this video, even though I wasted the first 30 days just building a base. The progress comes later, you just gotta trust me. So what's the next logical step after you dig a giant hole? You gotta fill the hole up, of course. And the oak planks are good, but I couldn't help but feel like the hole was missing a little bit more brown. I don't know why, but it just felt right. So it took a surprisingly long amount of time to find a dark oak forest, but I eventually found one and I chopped down about 3.5 iron axes worth of wood. And I really didn't want to run back to this forest because it was miles away, so I was hoping that those 14 stacks of wood would be enough to build the base. Spoiler alert, it wasn't. And when I got back, I decided that the hole wasn't big enough, so I stretched it out a little bit. Is anyone gonna stop me? I got like 12 more hole jokes lined up. I'm gonna be honest guys, I kinda lost track of the days at this point, so for about 1/3 of this video, the day counter is what I've deemed a fairly accurate estimate. I hope that's okay with you guys. I mean, the day counter is pretty much just an arbitrary thing that's used for clickbait anyways, but I do a better job of tracking it after about day 40, so after that it won't be a problem. And after a few more days of renovating the hole, it started looking a little bit like this. As you can see, it's nowhere near done, so I wanted to keep going, but I got rudely interrupted by these guys. I was pretty scared of them, but once I figured out that they did basically no damage, I got a massive sense of false confidence that would come back to bite me in the ass very, very soon, like now. I thought, oh, those guys were a cakewalk. How hard could a raid be? Oh God. This raid took years off my life. So if you don't know how raids work in Minecraft like I didn't, here's a little crash course. The harder your difficulty, the more rounds in the raid there will be. And in hardcore, there's 7. 7! Let's play a little game. How many times does Sipkid almost die? Oh, there's one. Oh, there's another. See, now this was the point where I realized that I was in over my head. Yeah, that was 3, by the way. Why did I choose to hit him with meat? Oh, 4. That's nice. Just when I was about to turn around and give up, I see the golem do that. I mean, how can I lose? On the second round, when there was only one left, I ran around the village for like 5 minutes and I just couldn't find him for some reason. That is until I found this giant death hole of death. Why is this hole so much better than mine? Why am I so bad at this game? Mobs die without me having to do anything. I'm actually the greatest player to ever play this game. And then round 3 started. And yeah, I was in dire need of a new strategy. And the only thing that I could think of was just to burn everything alive, to be honest. I mean this when I say this. If lava didn't kill these things, this wouldn't be a video right now because I would be dead, because there was no way that I was giving up on this raid. Mama didn't raise no block. After getting the lava, I came back to the village and the Ravager had despawned. I'd never seen that before. So because of that, stage 3 was a cakewalk. Then stage 4 started, and to my utter delight, the lava actually was able to kill these things. Oh, sick. Number 5. We love a prime number. Smells like a 6 is coming. Oh, there it is. You guys ever not want to do something so bad, but you know if you don't, you'll look like a blutz? The Ravagers were easy enough to kill because they were a pretty big slow target. But the main problem were those dang flyboys, man. I had no idea how to kill them, so this was my strategy. But the main problem with this strategy is, oh yeah, number 7, but who really cares at this point? The main issue with this strategy is that the totem gets burnt up along with the guy, and that's pretty much the only reason you do raids, right? So yeah, not a very good strategy. But things were chugging along though. Lava this, lava that, you get the idea. You guys are gonna roast me so hard for this, but I double tap W for sprint, so sometimes that happens. I just couldn't seem to kill this Ravager for some reason, and since I ran out of lava, I decided to just go home and refill, and hopefully the Ravager would be gone, but when I came back, the bar looked like this. Wait for it. There it is. That may not look like much, but that was the single most important thing that happened in this 100 days. Because if you have a keen eye, you might notice the shiny totem on the ground. It's sad, but I really didn't see it at the time. I was just going for the saddle. It's okay though, I found it pretty quick. That concludes our village raid adventure. Please subscribe so I can afford my blood pressure medication. Are you sick of me talking about this hole yet? Because I am. Sprinkle a little of that here. A little of that there, and it started looking a little bit like this. I swear it starts looking like an actual base soon. You just gotta trust me. I'm pretty decent at making exteriors of buildings, but interiors, not so much. Outside, good. Inside, bad. I decided that it needed a little bit of color, so I chose a block that's basically the absence of color, and it actually looks kind of decent. Can you see the big picture yet? Lord knows I couldn't at this point. Yes, that's it. It's coming together nicely. I'm not the best builder, so I took a lot of inspiration from this video, but I changed enough stuff to where I think I can say it's my own creation. Are there copyright laws on Minecraft builds? And if there is, does this fall under fair use? At this point, I was tired of living like a hobo, so I decided to move all my stuff indoors, and that took a surprisingly long amount of time, like 2 days. I didn't like how flat it was on top, so I decided to raise everything up one and give the whole a rim You know, maybe I shouldn't finish that sentence. And you can't see it very well, but I decided to put dirt on that top floor for future farms that I'll never use. Okay, fine, I'll give you a brief break from the hole. Don't say I never do anything for you. I feel like this video is getting increasingly more sarcastic as it goes on, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Ooh, that looks like shit. Optifine is a hell of a drug. It was roughly day 40 at this point, and I was finally to the point where I was putting the finishing touches on the hole. Well, it's still far from finished, but it's the last time I work on it in this video. All that was left was to finish off the roof, light up the roof, and then change out all the crappy torches for less crappy lanterns. Oh, and I put some water down for the farm that I never got one harvest from. And as I was doing this, I noticed that I was dangerously low on food. And you might be thinking to yourself, you just spent all this time making a farm on top of your base. Are you going to use it? Hell no. That is what we call a long-term solution, and we don't do those around here. Short-term solutions only. Instant gratification is the spice of life. I couldn't say that with a straight face. I did want to be a little bit more efficient though, so I decided to tame the slowest horse I've ever seen in my life. What is that? Clearly his brother stole all the good genes. Remember what I said about being more efficient? Yeah, I rode him for about 5 seconds. After killing every animal in sight, our food problem was solved for 5 days. And a little side mission was to get enough sugarcane for an enchanting table, which I succeeded at. On day 45, I decided our diamond supply was running really low. I think the only one I had at this point was in the item frame, and I wasn't going to touch that, so I decided to get more. And did they change the diamond rates, or did I just have really bad luck? Because it took forever to find some. That vein gave me exactly enough diamonds to make another diamond pickaxe, and I wasted the entire diamond pickaxe looking for more diamonds. Well, not the entire thing, but it sure feels like it. After getting frustrated with diamond mining, I decided to do something else with my time, and I thought it would be cool to have a mob spawner connected to my base. Now it's time for a segment I like to call or how many mobs does this mob spawner spawn in this 100 days? 500? 1,000? 4. The answer is 4. It spawned 4 mobs the entire time. I'm losing it. It's okay, it only took about a day to make. It's fine. I'll just make this enchanting table and it'll cheer me up. This enchant was an exact representation of how I was feeling at this point. I wasn't going to let all this keep me down though, and the next logical step in the journey is to go to the Nether. So I made a nice little hidey hole behind my set of stairs and I went on through. Man, I really just can't catch a break on this world, huh? After getting a little bit more prepared, but not really, I went back and I baby-proofed everything around my portal. My only reason for being in this place right now was to get some semblance of an XP farm going, and so I made this tiny little thing that actually worked kind of well. I know what you're thinking. There's no way that I made something that actually works, right? Well, turns out even I can copy a tutorial block for block and have it work. And this marks the exact moment that my luck turned around, which also coincidentally happened to be exactly halfway through this challenge. After getting the Fortune 3 pickaxe, I decided that it was time to upgrade my armor, so I went diamond mining where I found a 12 vein? Is that even possible? I guess it is because I did it, but I've never seen any more than 8. And I kind of feel robbed by it because I only got 23 diamonds, but still, that's pretty much enough for a full set anyways. And after one more vein, I was pretty sure that I had enough diamonds to do everything that I wanted. On day 52, I put on my bright shiny new armor and I immediately got to enchanting. And remember how I said my luck turned around? Yeah, I couldn't miss with these enchantments. The next 5 or so days are spent the same way. I just beat up on these guys until I hit level 30 and then got to enchanting. And it was going smoothly, for the most part. I made that to be my escape route in case something went wrong, but they used it! You know, all this shiny stuff is probably more of a blessing than a curse, but still a curse because whenever I start to feel safe, that's when the bad things happen. And obviously the next step was to get mending because, I mean, I already made one armor set. I didn't want to make a second one every time it broke. Fun fact, moving villagers is my least favorite thing to do in this game. They've been in the game for, 8 years now? You would think that there would be a better way to transport them. You would think. Luckily, past me had the foresight to block these 2 in before the carnage in the village took place. After getting the first one in place, I started fiddling around with it a little bit and I found out something cool. But first, wow, this mob spawner's really paying out, huh? I wonder how many more are gonna spawn. I named the villager after a pretty cool Smash Bros character, and then I found out that you can break and reset the lectern as many times as you want to get the trades that you want. Needless to say, it didn't take very long to get mending. But in order to actually buy the books, I needed emeralds, so that's where this guy came in. I figured the best way to do that is just to turn him into a Fletcher so I could trade a bunch of sticks to him. And Sephiroth is cool, but I decided to name this one after the best Smash Bros character. And then this happened. Why? Why? It's okay, I can just reset it. The only way that I can screw this up is if I do that. I'm sure you guys already knew that you can't reset the villager after you buy something from him, but I didn't, so yeah. After running around the village for like 10 minutes looking for a villager that I knew wasn't there, I finally resigned myself to go find a different village. and I vaguely remember seeing one in this forest when I went looking for dark oak, so I built up and scanned around, and I'm not gonna lie, I have no idea what I saw when I was playing because I can't see it in the footage looking back, but I guess I did see something because it was right there. There was just one issue though. All of the villagers were babies for some reason. I'd never seen that before. I knew that they grew up eventually though, so I decided to just roll with it. And yeah, I know I've been crying about moving villagers, but it really wasn't that bad because there was a body of water pretty close that connected to my land, so it didn't take very long. And here's where I make the worst or best decision depending on how you look at it. Instead of immediately going to sleep, I decided that, hey, I got diamond armor now, I can't die. I'm just gonna make my little path for the villager. And when I was done, I came back to this. And regardless of what was shown earlier, I do know most about how villagers work, so I wasn't exactly mad about this, because if I managed to turn him back, the trades would be heavily discounted, but first I needed to get rid of the zombie. Why didn't I just block him in at nighttime? Why? Why did I have to make it hard? I did somehow manage to save him though, so we were on the right track. And for those of you that don't know, in order to cure a zombie villager, you need these two items. And the golden apple is fine, I already had a few of those, but the potion of weakness is where I was going to struggle. And I'm going to let you guys use your deduction skills here. Will I make the potion successfully on the first try, or will I spend 5+ days in the nether looking for nether wart, which isn't an ingredient for this specific potion? That one was a gimme, I mean, come on. Luckily, it only took about 10 minutes to find a fortress. One small hiccup though. I looked around this fortress for like half an hour and there was no nether wart room. If there was, I couldn't find it, but I'm convinced that there was not a single piece of nether wart in this fortress. I did get a bunch of blaze rods, but I had to find a second fortress anyways, so I could have just done it there, so it doesn't really matter. It really didn't take me too long to find a second fortress, and it's in a better biome, and it's closer to the portal, so I guess it all worked out. As I was running around looking for the nether wart room, I killed one wither skeleton and actually managed to get a skull. And after that, it took me about 2 minutes to find some nether wart, and I was finally ready to leave. Okay, after getting the ingredient that's not actually an ingredient, I only had one left, and that one was pretty hard to get too. I needed a brown mushroom, and I first checked in the nether, but I couldn't find one, so I eventually just resigned myself to running back to this forest, and I grabbed a couple. Wait for it, wait for it. There you go. See, you figured it out. We're pretty slow, but we get there eventually. After finally getting everything I needed, I returned to the villager and I changed him back. After getting him home, all that was left to do was wait for him to grow up. And I already knew I was never going to use this farm, but in the meantime, I decided to just plant some crops to make it look like it was actually doing something. It's supposed to only take 20 minutes for the little kids to grow up, but at this point, it had been like 45, so I was a little confused. I tried everything I could think of. I even threw some meat at them. Turns out they only eat bread. If only I had a wheat farm on top of my base, that would be really convenient. But he's an actual escape artist, and I made a huge mistake by letting him out of my sight, and when I was done making the boat and I came back, he was nowhere to be found. I just spent 10+ days on a single villager, and then I lost him. I am not giving up. I can do this. One more, please. Alright, moving on to village number 3, and this time the villagers were actually fully grown. But, you know, I'm not going to spoil it, but if you know, you know. After about 10 minutes, I finally saw a familiar sight. I finally got him home and yeah, some villagers don't turn into things. I was already majorly committed at this point, so I wasn't giving up, so I left to go get another villager from that same village. But I was recording this at like 3 in the morning, so I decided that I needed sleep, and I turned around to end off in the hole. And then this happened. I've been losing my mind for 60 days. I don't need this. Where were you? You know what? I'll take what I can get. This was the best case scenario. But guess what I did? I ran away to grab the lectern, and when I came back, he was gone. Let's watch that footage back, shall we? I'm gonna pause it right here, and I want you to see if you can see anything. I'm about 80% sure that that's him right there, and if it is, well, I hope it is, because that would mean that I'm not going crazy, and there really was some paranormal shit going on. Luckily, this time he was only gone for like 30 seconds, but I can't take it anymore. That Buddhist ideal that states life is pain and suffering is really resonating with me right now. But it also states that how you deal with the pain and suffering is how you find happiness, so I mentally and physically cut the last half hour out of my life. Must resist the urge. I can't do it. I'm sorry, I can't. I'll get infinity some other way. After what felt like an eternity, I finally had a steady source of mending books. And after an extended period of time at the piglin farm, I finally got mending on all my gear. As I was repairing everything, I noticed that it took a lot longer than I would like it to. So the next logical step was to get a better XP farm. And for the farm I wanted to make, it required you to get on top of the Nether, and for that you needed TNT, which I didn't have, so I went down in the caves to kill some creepers. That little cave adventure led me to acquiring another name tag, and I rightfully strayed away from the Smash Bros theme. I got on top of the Nether without much difficulty, and I was a little bit worried because I only had 3 tries to break the bedrock, but I managed to do it on my second try. If you want to know how to do this, clearly I am not the best source of information on these types of things, but just Google it. I mean, that's how I did it. And by now, if you haven't figured out what farm I'm making a zombie pig. What are they called? Zombified piglins now? I'm making that. After filling up my inventory with magma blocks, I decided that it had been a while since I had a near-death experience, so I went looking for one. Didn't take very long. After that, I got to work on building the farm. I decided to go with my own design, which is why it looks terrible, but the farm itself is super simple and can be made in hundreds of ways, so I didn't feel like following a tutorial. And it's pretty annoying to build because if you uncrouch, you just get burnt the entire time, but it was coming along. That is, until I literally saw them. Why didn't I just kill them? Why am I the way that I am? That was my only totem, so you know what time it is. That's right, time for raid number 2. The raid spawned at my base, I guess because the villagers are at my base now, but that kind of steered me away from using lava. The raid should be easier now because I have really OP armor, right? Right? And yeah, it was a little bit easier, but I still managed to get pretty low health a couple of times. Oh yeah, I'm having a great time. After everything was said and done, I managed to get 4 total totems, and that made me feel a lot safer. And by the end of day 79, the farm was finally complete. Well, complete is a loose term. A few piglins were getting stuck on the sides, so I decided to make a path to the original path, and yeah. That one is up there with the closest calls, because even if the totem popped, they would have just kept swinging and killed me immediately for a second time. But once all the kinks were ironed out, it actually worked kind of well, I guess. I mean, it was faster than the one below and less work, so that's a step up, but it's still kind of slow. It probably just needs more floors, but I think I'm done building this farm. After repairing everything and getting a few more upgrades to my enchantments, I decided that it was finally time to take on the dragon. Okay, either I got the stingiest piglin of all time, or they don't spawn ender pearls anymore because I gave him like 100 gold. So I decided to just go get him the old-fashioned way, and it was surprisingly fast. By the end of the night, I had a stack and a half of pearls and I was ready to go find the stronghold. Turns out it was in everyone's favorite birch forest. After a little bit of digging around, I found the portal room and I jumped right in. Everyone's seen the dragon fight a million times and it's pretty easy, so I probably won't show much of it, but what? Mojang, Microsoft, whoever, I want you to ask yourself, was there a need for that? Why? Get some help. Apparently my 2080 Ti isn't enough to run Minecraft, huh? Who knew? After beating the dragon, I figured since I'm already in the end, I might as well go get some wings, so that's what I did. Luckily, there was an end city pretty much already in render distance, so this whole process took like 20 minutes total. Never mind guys, I take it back. I figured out why it was lagging. Turns out constantly loading 31 chunks is a little too much. After that, I took my maiden flight and flew around until I found a portal. With my newly found levels, I decided to upgrade my weapons, and at the end of it, I ended up with pretty much the best sword you can have, and same thing with the bow, although I don't really have any footage of it. On day 88, I linked up a portal on top of the Nether to the stronghold for future use, and I used this time to decide my next project. I'm at the point in this series where I could pretty much do whatever I want and have it be okay because I've done all the major stuff that you need to do at the start of the world. And since I just got my wings, but I don't really have any gunpowder to make rockets to use them, I decided on a creeper farm. I pretty much had all the materials I would need already. The only thing I was missing was some slime balls because I had somehow never seen a slime in this world, but by some stroke of luck, I chose the exact right direction to get me to a swamp in less than 14 rockets. And from there, well, you know. After that, I returned home, and this is where I make a huge mistake. If you don't know how this farm works, you're supposed to build it high up in the air, like 128 blocks up in the air, so the only thing that can spawn is the creepers in this little cage. But I decided that I wanted to build it right next to my base so the creepers would spawn when I'm in the base. But all this resulted in was 4 or 5 extra hours of work lighting up the caves below it, and this giant ugly ass wooden thing next to my base. If I decide to return to this world, I'm definitely going to move this. And if you're interested how I built this, it's pretty simple. You just do this, a little of this, a little of that, and then you're done. Don't ask me how the redstone works. I have no idea. After building a handy dandy little collection area underneath, it was finished. And now it's time for a little segment I like to call, no, you know what? Screw the segment. No, it doesn't spawn any creepers. I failed. I don't know what I did wrong. Mob spawners and I were like oil and water. In all seriousness though, I think it's because of the caves underneath, but I could be wrong, so I'm gonna have to do some research and then come back to this. It was day 95 at this point, and all I did for the next 3 days was light up caves, and that's not very interesting. I'm totally not showing it because I lost the footage. That's definitely not it. What is interesting though is when I went to go farm wither skulls on day 99. Now I want you guys to brace yourself for the next 30 seconds because I think this might just be the best Minecraft clip ever on this platform. And I'm purposely leaving this uncut. As you can see, we just got a wither skull. That's pretty cool. 5.5% chance with looting 3. Wow. 2 in a row. You know, that's pretty insane, but it's been done before. 3 in a row though. I mean, come on, that's some dream luck if I've ever seen it. Too bad I don't have any of that dream skill. Oh, it's such a bad joke, but how else am I supposed to explain doing something that's rarer than getting a shiny Pokemon and then jumping into lava immediately? I told you it was the best Minecraft clip of all time. But Dream crafted a boat and then landed in it all in midair, Sipkid. I know, okay, I know. Just let me have this. There was still enough light left on day 99 to where I felt comfortable enough to fly around and look for a spot to fight the wither. I flew around this ocean for like 5 minutes and I couldn't find any land. Yes, I could have fought it underground, but that's for beta males. I did find this weird, eerie looking island with a bunch of drowned on it though. And when I killed the trident guy, he actually dropped it, so that's cool. I gave up on trying to find land because, well, my gunpowder farm wasn't working and I didn't want to waste all my rockets. So I eventually decided on like 200 blocks away from my home. And on day 100, I got to work. And did they buff this guy? Because damn. This clip is sped up 1000% and it's only half the fight, but it's still pretty long. I just wanted to put into perspective how long I was on like 3 hearts fighting this guy. But I eventually did manage to kill it somehow. Look at this carnage, man. Okay, now that we've reached the end of this 100 days, let me take you back in time to an alternate reality. Let's go all the way back to day 98. I couldn't help but notice that my elytra was looking pretty low, and since I'm OCD as hell, I need all of my gear to be full durability at all times. And for those of you that are unaware, there's this terrifying little elytra mechanic. It causes you to jump forward even if you're not pushing forward. And because of my ignorance and my lack of baby proofing on this mob spawner, this happened. And you know, since it was still early on in this world's lifespan, I don't think anger is the right emotion, and sadness for that matter. It felt like that feeling you get when you do something really bad and your parents say, "I'm not mad, just disappointed." Even though it was short-lived, I'm still proud of what I was able to accomplish here, and I cannot wait to start another Minecraft hardcore series. Side note, I just noticed my base looks like a covered Pokeball. Why did nobody tell me? So if you want to see that series unfold, be sure to subscribe and hit that bell notification. It's not going to be in 100 days style, but all of the videos will have the same amount of effort put into it as this one, so it'll be really high quality. And with that, we've reached the end of the video. To end it off with a little poetic justice, the creeper farm finally spawned a creeper. Thanks for watching. See you next time, guys.